Imagine waking up in the morning, your eyes open, and suddenly, a world of sights, sounds, smells, and thoughts floods your mind. You are conscious. But what is this mysterious thing we call consciousness? Where does it come from? And why do we have it at all? Consciousness, our inner world of experience, is perhaps the most intimate and yet the most enigmatic aspect of existence. Despite all our scientific and technological advancements, the nature of consciousness remains a profound mystery. Why do we feel anything at all? Take a moment to think about the color red, the warmth of its hue, its vibrant energy. Now, consider the taste of coffee, the bitterness, the aroma. These are examples of qualia, the individual instances of subjective, conscious experience. But why should our brain's physical processes give rise to these unique feelings? The redness of red, the bitterness of coffee, these are not things you can measure, touch, or dissect. They are private, internal experiences, known only to the person having them. This is the paradox of qualia, the question that haunts philosophers and neuroscientists alike. This leads us to one of the oldest debates in philosophy, the mind-body problem. Is the mind something separate from the physical body, a realm of pure thought and experience distinct from the neurons and tissues of the brain? This is the position of dualism, famously championed by René Descartes, who argued that the mind and body are two fundamentally different substances. But what if the mind is not separate, and consciousness is just another product of the physical brain, like the digestive system producing enzymes or the lungs processing air? This view is called physicalism or materialism, suggesting that everything about the mind can be explained in terms of physical processes. Yet if this is true, why do our subjective experiences, the inner feeling of seeing, hearing, tasting, seem so different from the mechanical workings of neurons firing in our brain? This brings us to the hard problem of consciousness. Philosopher David Chalmers coined this term to distinguish between the easy problems of consciousness, like understanding how the brain processes information, and the hard problem, which asks why any of this processing should lead to subjective experience at all. How can physical matter produce a first-person perspective? Why should neurons give rise to a conscious mind rather than operating in darkness, without any sense of what it's like to be? Science can trace the pathways in the brain that correspond to recognizing a face or feeling pain, but it cannot tell us why those processes are accompanied by the rich texture of experience, the feeling of being you. Throughout history, the nature of consciousness has puzzled some of the greatest minds. In ancient philosophy, the problem of mind and body was central to thinkers like Plato, who saw the soul as distinct and separate from the physical body. In the 17th century, René Descartes famously declared, "I think, therefore I am," suggesting that the act of conscious thought was proof of existence itself. For Descartes, consciousness was something beyond the physical, a clear and distinct property that set humans apart from the rest of the material world. Later, philosophers like Immanuel Kant and Arthur Schopenhauer explored the nature of perception and reality, questioning whether what we perceive is an accurate reflection of the world or merely a construction of our mind. In modern times, some scientists believe consciousness can eventually be explained through neuroscience. They argue that as we map the brain more precisely, we will uncover the mechanisms that give rise to conscious experience. Yet others remain skeptical, suggesting that even with a complete understanding of brain function, the mystery of subjective experience will remain. One intriguing theory is panpsychism. This view proposes that consciousness is a fundamental aspect of reality, present even in the smallest particles, like atoms or electrons. In this sense, everything in the universe has a form of consciousness, albeit extremely primitive compared to human awareness. If true, consciousness would not emerge from complexity, but would be a basic ingredient of the cosmos. As technology advances, we face a new question. Can machines be conscious? With the rise of artificial intelligence, many wonder if a sufficiently advanced computer might develop a form of awareness. If we build a machine that acts like a human, learns like a human, and even speaks like a human, does that make it conscious? Or is there something special about the biological brain that machines will never replicate? If consciousness could arise in a machine, it would force us to redefine what it means to be conscious and what it means to be human. But perhaps the most skeptical view of all is solipsism. According to this idea, only one's own mind can be known to exist. How can we be sure that other people, other minds, are truly conscious and not just behaving as if they are? Are we all trapped within the confines of our own consciousness, isolated from the true experiences of others? Solipsism challenges us to consider whether we can ever truly understand another person's mind, or if we are eternally locked within the prison of our own consciousness. And what about the self, the I that experiences the world? Some argue that the self is an illusion, a convenient fiction created by the brain to make sense of complex experiences. Neuroscientists suggest that our sense of self is not a singular entity, but a collection of mental processes giving rise to the illusion of a unified self. Others maintain that the self is real, a core aspect of what it means to be conscious. Without the self, consciousness loses its anchor, its reference point. Who then is asking these questions? Who is having the experience if not a self? The mystery of consciousness challenges the limits of human knowledge. Is consciousness a product of complex biological machinery, or is it the fundamental nature of reality itself? Are we on the verge of a breakthrough, or will consciousness remain forever beyond the grasp of science and philosophy? The journey to understand consciousness continues, with every theory leading to new questions and every answer revealing a deeper mystery. In the end, perhaps the greatest question is not how consciousness exists, but why it exists at all. What do you believe? Is consciousness just a product of the brain, or is there something more, something we have yet to understand? The search for answers is as timeless as the human experience itself, and the conversation is far from over. And so, the exploration continues, a mystery that may define what it truly means to be alive, aware, and the conscious.